If you stepped into the Ice Age with no weapon and no shelter, which predator would find you first? The silent cat, close enough to touch? The pack that notices you are alone? Or the giant that simply takes what it wants? People love to rank top hunters like there is one winner. But the Ice Age did not work that way, because several predators dominated the same landscapes at the same time, and each one was built to exploit a different kind of weakness. Would you rather face a hunter that ends the fight in seconds, or a hunter that turns your fear into a slow mistake, or a hunter that wins by refusing to stop? The late Pleistocene world we call the Ice Age was cold, windy, and unpredictable, but it was also crowded with large herbivores, and that combination created a harsh hunting environment. Cold makes prey burn more energy just to stay warm. Deep snow punishes injuries and slows the weak. And long winter nights increase mistakes. So predators did not need anything mysterious. They only needed bodies and behaviors that could turn a small weakness into a kill. Many animals were huge, but winter still forced them to travel, to feed, and to move through open spaces where danger could see them coming. So the best hunters were the ones that could turn ordinary moments into fatal ones. When you picture mammoths and bison moving across open ground, do you also picture what is following them, watching for the limp, the separation, and the panic? In the Americas, the most famous close-range hunter is Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat. And the real danger was not only the teeth, but the whole body built for a takedown at short distance. Smilodon was not shaped for a long chase, because it had a heavily muscled front end designed to grab and control struggling prey. And that matters because large herbivores do not go down politely, and a single kick can break bones. The long canines look dramatic, but they were tools that demanded control. So the safest way to use them is when prey is already pinned or restrained. And that tells you what kind of hunter Smilodon likely was. It is the kind that waits, closes the gap, and commits. And if you ever wonder why ambush is terrifying, it is because you can be in danger before your brain even decides there is danger. That uncomfortable risk is also why the story does not end at the kill. Because killing is only half the work. A large carcass attracts attention, and other predators and scavengers can arrive quickly. So a hunter that works alone can lose its meal even after taking the risk. That pressure favors quick feeding and quick retreat, and it pushes a predator to choose prey that is worth the danger and can be processed fast enough to matter. It also means the Ice Age was full of tense moments where predators were not just hunting prey, they were watching the horizon for rivals. If you had just brought down a large animal and you could hear distant movement in the snow, would you keep eating, or would you back away and live to hunt again? If Smilodon represents precision and power, the dire wolf represents pressure and teamwork. Dire wolves lived in the Americas during the late Pleistocene into the early Holocene, and they are often described as pack-oriented hunters that combined endurance with strength. A pack changes the rules because it can test a herd, isolate a vulnerable animal, and keep it moving until fatigue creates an opening. And fatigue is easier to force when cold weather already drains energy, and snow makes every step harder. Pack hunting is frightening for a simple reason, because it does not rely on one perfect strike. It relies on repeated pressure that forces mistakes, and mistakes are more likely when you are exhausted. The pack does not need to be faster than the strongest animal in the herd. It only needs to be more persistent than the weakest one. So the hunt becomes a slow narrowing of options until there is only one option left. Pack living matters after the hunt as well, because numbers can defend food. A group of wolves can challenge other predators more confidently than a lone hunter can, and that can decide whether the pack survives a hard week or starves after a failed hunt. It does not mean the pack is safe, because large prey can injure wolves, and rival predators can still force them back. But pack living gives them more chances to recover from failure, and more chances matter in a seasonal world. It also creates a different kind of fear for anything that is alone, because a pack can control space, block escape routes and keep returning even when you want the danger to be over. If you were separated from your group in a snowstorm, would you be more worried about a sudden ambush or about the sound of multiple footsteps staying behind you? Now add a top threat that does not need speed to control the situation, which is the giant short-faced bear, Arctodus simus, from North America. Even if you picture it as an opportunist as much as a hunter, it could still function as a top predator in practice because size can win without a chase. A bear that large can take over feeding opportunities by intimidation, forcing other predators to back away from a carcass. And in winter, that kind of takeover can save huge amounts of energy while reducing injury risk. This is a different kind of power because it turns other predators into workers, since wolves and cats take the risk of bringing prey down, and the bear can sometimes arrive later and claim the reward. In a landscape where calories decide survival, an animal that can acquire food while spending fewer calories can become dominant even if it is not the most specialized hunter. To see the full Ice Age predator story, you also have to look beyond the Americas, because northern Eurasia had its own heavy hitters, including the cave lion, Panthera spalea. This was a large cat that ranged across much of the mammoth steppe from Europe through Asia and into Alaska and Yukon through connected steppe environments. And its spread shows how consistent these open, cold landscapes could be. A lion can succeed in open terrain if it has strength and coordination. And that matters because open steppe offers fewer hiding places and more chances for prey to spot danger early. For humans living in the same regions, a big cat that shares your prey is not a distant nature fact. It is a daily planning problem because it affects where you travel, how fast you process meat, and whether you sleep in a place that is easy to defend. If you had just butchered an animal and the wind shifted, would you notice the moment a predator notices you? Ice Age Europe also had formidable competitors like cave hyenas. And they add another layer because they were not only hunters, they were also specialists at using a carcass thoroughly, including bone and tough tissue that others struggle to access. That means a kill did not just attract one kind of enemy, because it could draw animals that can crack bone, drag pieces away, and return until almost nothing is left. This raises the real pressure behind the phrase top predator, because it is not just who can kill, it is who can keep the food long enough for the kill to matter. The Ice Age was not a clean ladder, where one animal sits at the top and everyone else politely waits. Because the truth is that food created conflict, and conflict created injury, and injury was often the beginning of the end. Once you line these hunters up, the Ice Age stops looking like a simple contest where one predator rules everything, because the real tension came from overlap and constant competition. Smilodon could bring down large prey, but might struggle to keep the carcass when rivals arrive. Dire wolves could pressure prey and defend meals with numbers, but they still faced injuries and larger challengers. Short-faced bears could dominate food through size, but they still depended on a productive ecosystem that could support huge animals in the first place. That is why the Ice Age feels so intense, because danger did not come from one monster. It came from a system where multiple hunters were always searching, always hungry, and always ready to take advantage of a weak moment. As climates shifted near the end of the Pleistocene, and humans expanded across more regions, prey populations and landscapes changed, and predators tuned for big game could be pushed into decline when that big game became less common. When the food base shrinks, every hunt becomes riskier, every injury costs more, and every rival encounter matters more, so the system becomes easier to break. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more Ice Age history that keeps the science clear while making the stakes easy to feel. Now answer this honestly. If you had to cross an Ice Age plain at dusk with only a small group and limited food, which would scare you more? The cat that attacks up close? The pack that keeps following until you are exhausted? Or the giant bear that can take your safety and your meal the arrives.